Sex hormones are made from fat as one of the building blocks. Your brain is 60% fat. Your nerves are surrounded by fat. And in fact, multiple sclerosis is a disease that happens as a result of that fatty layer being eroded. So it's very important. But how much fat should we be ingesting? You can look at this from many different ways, but I think the very best way to look at this is from robust population studies like the Mediterranean diets. The Mediterranean diet improves everything from depression to heart disease, risks of stroke, cancer, all those things. And you look at how much energy a person takes in the day on a Mediterranean diet, about 40% of that energy, the calorie, comes from fat. If I were to look at the total content of my Mediterranean diet plate, about 80% of the content is vegetables. About 10% is some kind of protein source like meat, poultry, or fish, or dairy. And the other 10% would be cereals like rice or pasta or bread. And then you would drizzle olive oil on the Mediterranean diet. And so the content of the olive oil isn't as much as the content of the vegetables, but because olive oil has a lot of energy, if I add up the energy from the fat from the meat and the olive oil, that total energy of the plate is 40% from fat. But the total content mostly is still vegetables. The Mediterranean diet is a very plant-rich diet. So more content from plants than from animal sources, but the energy content, 40% comes from fat. So the people on the Mediterranean diet do eat fat, about 80 to 110 grams of fat per day. And when they looked at how much olive oil, it's about 4 tablespoons of olive oil a day, which is probably a lot more than most people are getting in their diet, especially the older generation, because unfortunately they became so afraid of fat. Basically, you shouldn't have too much and you shouldn't have too little. You want to stay in that Goldilocks zone.